Which is better, the Samsung Galaxy A51 5G or the Samsung Galaxy A51 regular model? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, coming at you with my comparison between the Samsung Galaxy A51 5G and the Samsung Galaxy A51 regular model. Now, before we get started with the video, there are a few things that I'd like to mention. The first thing is that this variant of the A51 5G is the US unlocked model, and it features the Exynos 980 processor. It supports 5G usage on AT&T and T-Mobile, but does not support Verizon's high-frequency millimeter wave 5G network. Verizon sells a separate model called the A51 5G UW that supports their network, and that device features the Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G processor instead. And then this variant of the regular A51 is actually the international variant of the phone, but it's pretty much exactly the same as the US variant of the device, except this one does not have NFC. So with all that out of the way, I also wanted to point out that there are actually more differences between these two phones than the A51 5G just having 5G. But we'll be going over all of that here in this video. Now, if you're curious about the most up-to-date pricing for both of these devices, then take a look at the links in the video description, because I'm sure as time goes on, the prices will change. And in addition to that, as I mentioned a second ago, both of these devices are being offered at a variety of different carriers. So whether you want to go the unlocked route or you want to get it through a carrier, I recommend definitely doing your research to see where you can get the best deal. Now, both of these devices feature 6.5-inch displays. Now, the displays do look very good on both phones. They're both Super AMOLED, and they're both very large. Now, both of these displays are going to be awesome for viewing content, whether it's going on social media, watching videos, or browsing the web. Everything's going to look very good. Now, with both phones, we're getting 1080p displays with a PPI of 405 and a 20:9 aspect ratio. And then finally, with both devices, we're getting 87.2% screen-to-body ratios in general. So you can see here that both devices do have very slim bezels overall. I would say pretty much an identical setup here with both phones. Now up top here on both devices, we do have 32 megapixel front-facing cameras in the hole punch. Now both of these phones feature 128 gigabytes of internal storage, and we also get microSD card expansion with these phones as well. Now there's no wireless charging with either device, but they do both feature in-display fingerprint sensors. So we'll give it a try first with the A51 5G. It's nice and quick there. And then now for the regular A51. And that was very fast as well. And in addition to having in-display fingerprint sensors, both phones do support face unlock as well via the front-facing cameras. So you do get a variety of different methods to get into your phone. Now, taking a look at the backside of both devices, they both have exactly the same camera setup. So we're getting a 48 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera, and a 5 megapixel macro camera for close-up pictures. So here's how things look with the regular cameras on both devices. Then from there, we can switch over to the ultra wide angle cameras to fit a lot more content into the frame here. And then we can go over to the More tab to access the macro cameras. So with the macro cameras, of course, we can get very close for nice detailed pictures, which is definitely very awesome. Then we have the front-facing cameras in both phones. And then from here, we can go over to live focus portrait mode on these devices as well to get nice blurred out backgrounds. So I definitely like that we are getting live focus portrait mode with both the front and rear cameras on these devices. And then with both of these phones, we are getting 4K video recording with both the front and rear cameras as well, which is another awesome thing to see. Now getting into the RAM and processor, as I mentioned before, there are different variants of the A51 5G, and this variant has the Exynos 980 processor. Another difference too is that with this variant of the A51 5G, we're getting 6 gigabytes of RAM. Now this particular variant of the A51 features 4 gigabytes of RAM and the Samsung Exynos 9611 processor. Now I did run a benchmark test on both devices, and you can see that there are some pretty big differences when it comes to the scores that I got. So with the Galaxy A51 5G, I got a single core score of 489 compared to a score of 348 with the regular A51. And then for the multi-core score, it was also a lot better with the A51 5G, with an overall score of 1816 compared to a multi-core score of 1256 with the regular A51. So definitely out of these two devices, you should expect to get much better performance with the A51 5G. Now by having the Exynos 980 processor with the A51 5G, we do get the ability, of course, to connect to 5G networks. But again, in addition to having that ability, we're also getting a significant performance boost. So it doesn't matter what you're doing throughout this phone, you're going to have a better experience and things are going to run faster and smoother. Now with the A51 5G, we're getting a 4,500 milliamp hour internal battery. And with the regular A51, we are getting a smaller battery at 4,000 milliamp hours. So also expect to get better battery life with the A51 5G as well. Now both phones are compatible with 15-watt fast charging, which is certainly very awesome too. Now the software on these devices is Android 10 with Samsung's One UI 2.0. So we're getting the exact same experience on both phones here with features like the App Edge and all kinds of other cool features too that come with Samsung software. But now that we've gone over the specification highlights of these two devices, let's now take a closer look at the hardware. So as far as the front panels go on both phones, there are no differences here. So we're getting pretty much an identical form factor and layout, but there are some differences when it comes to the other materials that these two phones are made out of. So with the A51 5G, we actually have a metal band running around the sides of the phone. It definitely does make this phone feel a lot more premium, compared to the regular A51, where it does feel a bit slimmer, but we're getting plastic around the sides instead. Now as far as the material on the back goes, this is exactly the same. This material is called Glastic, that's what Samsung calls it, but basically it's just plastic that kind of looks like glass. But taking a look at the left side of both devices, with the A51 5G there's nothing, but with the regular A51, we do have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. Then taking a look at the right side of both devices, we have the power button and volume buttons on both phones. You can also see that with the A51 5G, we do have several of these different seams in between the various pieces of metal here running around the sides of the phone, and that's a design cue that is unique to this device. Now taking a look at the top of both phones, with both devices we do have the noise cancelling microphone, but with the A51 5G, we have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card. And then taking a look at the bottom of both devices, we have a very similar setup with the 3.5mm headphone jack, USB-C port for charging and data transfer, microphone, and speaker. Now the speaker grill actually looks a bit different on these two devices, and another thing I wanted to mention as well is that the button placement is a little bit different too. So with the regular A51, all the buttons are slightly higher up compared to the A51 5G. So keep that in mind because what that means is that cases for the regular A51 will not work with the A51 5G. So even though the names of these two phones are technically the A51, there are quite a few differences as you've probably been able to tell so far with the A51 5G, both internally and also with the whole form factor and build of the phone. Now here are the boxes that both phones do come in. So I want to show you what we get with both devices. Now you can see here with the A51 5G, we do have 5G branding on the box. But other than that, we're getting a pretty similar setup with both boxes. So with both phones, we are getting SIM card removal tools. And then you can see here with the A51 5G, we have the adaptive fast charger, and then we also have the USB-C cable for charging and data transfer. And then we get the same exact stuff with the regular A51, but for this particular model of the phone, which is the international variant, we do get headphones included too. Now I believe for the official US A51, you do not get headphones, but they're not really special headphones or anything like that. So whether you get them or not, it's not really a loss or gain. Let's now do a speed test comparison between these two devices. So we're going to start by pulling up the camera apps on both phones. 1, 2, 3, go. And you can see the A51 5G was the first of the two phones to pull up the camera app. Let's now go to Google Chrome on both devices. 1, 2, 3, go. And definitely a bit faster with the A51 5G as well. Let's now go to yahoo.com on both phones. 1, 2, 3, go. And faster with the A51 5G in this test as well. And let's go over to engadget.com. 1, 2, 3, go. And it was faster with the A51 5G, but the regular A51 is pretty quick too. We'll do a scrolling test. Smooth on both phones. It does seem like it is a bit smoother though with the A51 5G, as I'd hope. because it is the more expensive device of the two, and in addition to that, it does feature much better internals as far as the processor and RAM go. Let's now go to this article. 1, 2, 3, go. And again, quicker with the A51 5G. So in conclusion, which of these two devices is the better choice of the two? Now, the first thing I wanted to point out here is that the A51 5G is definitely going to be a bit more expensive compared to the regular A51. At least in the US, you really have 3 different options if you want to buy an A51. You can either get the international unlocked variant of the phone, which is this one. You can get the US unlocked variant of the phone, which is like an extra $100, but it's pretty much the same device. I believe you just gain NFC and that's it. Or you can get the A51 5G. So this is the cheapest A51 that you can get, and then this is pretty much the most expensive A51 that you can get. Now with that in consideration, of course, check out your favorite carrier to see what deals they're offering, because they're most likely offering really good deals in both of these phones, and you most likely will save quite a bit of money compared to buying these factory unlocked. But it really comes down to your personal preference. But really, the biggest differences between these two devices is that with the A51, we get better build quality, so we get a metal band around the sides of the phone. We're getting more RAM with 6 gigabytes with the A51 5G. And then we're getting a much better processor as well with the Snapdragon 765G, and we're getting a bigger battery, slightly, and we're getting 5G support. So those are the benefits here with the A51 5G. I hope you enjoyed the video and found it to be helpful and informative, but definitely share your thoughts with me in the comment section below. But this is Kevin, and I'll see you in the next video.